when you hear the word story, you think that it must be fiction, but we believe that this is a true story. It's a story from the life of the Prophet Muhammad. And it's known as the Hadith of Jibril. Jibril is the Arabic word name for Gabriel. And it's about an incident that occurred in his lifetime, where the Prophet Muhammad was sitting with his companions, and a man appeared. A man walked towards them, and he was a man that nobody had ever seen before. He was a tall man with black hair, wearing a white gown. And the reason that that was so notable was because nobody knew him, so the assumption was he must be a traveler. And in those days, if you're a traveler in the desert, your white gown would be dirty, your black hair would be dusty, and that wasn't the case. Nobody knew who he was. And he came and he sat down in front of the Prophet Muhammad, his knees against his knees, and he said, "Muhammad, tell me, what is Islam?" And so the Prophet Muhammad responded that Islam is to testify that there's only one God, and that Muhammad is the messenger of God. It's to pray 5 times a day. It's to fast in the month of Ramadan. It's to give 2.5% of charity from your savings every year, known as zakat. And it's to go on Hajj, the pilgrimage, at least once in your lifetime if you're able to afford it. Those are known as the 5 pillars of Islam. So this gentleman responded, "You are correct." And all the companions who were sitting there were shocked. They're like, who's this man who's asking the question and then confirming the answer, telling the Prophet that he's correct? So then he said, "Okay, Muhammad, tell me what is Iman." Iman meaning faith. And so the Prophet Muhammad responded that it is to believe in one God. It's to believe in all the prophets, like Adam and Moses and Aaron and John and Zechariah and Moses, all the prophets that you guys know about, including the Prophet Muhammad. It's to believe in the angels, that they exist. It's to believe in the revealed books, meaning the Torah and the Bible and the Quran. It's to believe in the day of judgment, that there will be a day of judgment. And it's to believe in the will of God, meaning that whatever hits you was never going to miss, and whatever misses you was never going to hit. So it's basically to understand that anything that happens in your life, it happens only with the permission of God. So again, the man responded, "You're correct." And again, the companions were shocked. Who's this guy confirming the answer? So then he said, "Tell me what is ihsan," which means excellence. So he asked about Islam, then he asked about Islam, which is faith. Islam, which is submission. Then he asked about Iman, which is faith. And then he asked about ihsan, which means beauty. And he said, "What is beauty? What is ihsan?" And Prophet Muhammad responded that it is to worship your Lord as if you see him. But if you see him not, it's to know that he sees you. And again, the man responded, "You're correct." Then he said to him, "Tell me about the hour. Tell me about the end of time." And Prophet Muhammad responded that the one asking the question, the one being asked the question, doesn't know any more than the one asking the question. So then the man said, "Okay, well then tell me some of the signs of the end of time." So the Prophet Muhammad listed a bunch of signs, which I'm not going to go through right now, but he listed a bunch of signs of the end of time. And again, the man responded that you're correct. And after that, the man got up and he left, and everybody sat there in silence. None of the companions asked anything. Then the Prophet turned to one of his friends and said, "Do you know who that was who was asking those questions?" And his companion said, "Allah," meaning God. "Allah and his messenger know best." We have no idea. He said, "Allah and his messenger know best." And Prophet Muhammad responded, "That was Gabriel. He came to teach you your religion." And then around, I think 50 days, or maybe 80, I'm off with the number, but I think 50 days after this incident, Prophet Muhammad passed away. So this one incident is considered to be our entire religion in a nutshell. And so the first part, the Islam that he asked about, if you notice, that's all got to do with physical. So it's got to be with testifying your faith, saying that you believe in one God. You actually say it with your lips. Fasting in Ramadan, that's a physical thing that you go through. Praying 5 times a day, that's a physical thing you go through. Going on the Hajj pilgrimage, that's physical. So Islam has to do everything with the body. Then after that, when he asked about faith, all that had to do with what you believe. Believing in the prophets, believing in the angels, believing in the revealed books. So I can say that I believe in Jesus and I believe in Prophet Muhammad, but I don't believe in Moses. And that actually takes me out of Islam. That means I'm not a Muslim. So in order to be a Muslim, I need to believe in all the prophets. I can't say I believe in the Torah and I believe in the Quran, but I don't believe in the Bible. That would take me out of Islam. I have to accept that that was a revealed book of God's. So that all has to do with the mind. So we've been through the body, now we're to the mind. And then the final question when he asked about beauty, and the Prophet Muhammad responded, that is to worship God as if you see him, and if you see him not to know that he sees you. That has to do with the heart. That has to do with the soul. So the understanding is that Muslims worship God with their body, their mind, and their souls. And so that's pretty much our religion in a nutshell. There's a lot that we could have gone through, but that's what I thought would make the most sense for right now. And I wanted to, one last thing I just wanted to let you know that in Islam that we're taught that religion has 6 purposes. And there's 6 things that religion has been revealed to protect. And if it's not protecting one of those 6 things, it's not doing its job. It's a complete fake. So one of the things religion is here to protect is your life, the fact that you're alive. You're not allowed to go around killing people or killing yourself. Your intellect, which Sean touched on that you have to preserve your intellect. Your honor, meaning that we're not allowed to go around backbiting about people, slandering, spreading rumors. Your lineage. One of the misconceptions about Muslims is that they can't adopt. Some people are like, oh, adoption's not allowed in your religion. You are allowed to adopt, but you're not allowed to change somebody's last name, because if they know their last name from their father, because they have a right to know what family they came from. It's one of the reasons Malcolm X changed his last name to X, because he recognized that his last name, Little, wasn't actually his last name. It was the name of the slave owners of his family. It's also why in Islam, when women get married, they don't take their husband's last names. They keep their father's name because we have a patriarchal lineage in Islam. One of the other things that religion came to protect is religion, meaning that people have the right to practice their faith. A lot of what you see, what's going on in the world, many Muslims are baffled by it just as much as anybody else, because Christians and Muslims have lived in peace for centuries in many of the countries. You look at the Muslim countries around the world, Jewish communities, Christian communities are still there, whereas Muslim communities in other lands have pretty much been erased through history. They're not there anymore. They're there now through immigration recently, but as far as communities that had been there for centuries. So religion needs to preserve religion. And then the last thing, the 6th thing that religion protects is property. And that's why we're not allowed to steal, we're not allowed to usurp things from others. So those are the 6 things religion covers. And then I wanted to share one last video because I think it's best for young people to hear from young people. So this is a 16-year-old girl. She was auditioning for TED Talks. You guys have probably heard of TED Talks. And she did like a 3-minute talk about why she wears the hijab, the headscarf. So I thought it'd be good to hear her words.